Your classroom community is going to require some clear guidelines and systems in place to, function together every day, to live and work together effectively. And one way you can do this is to have a regular community meeting. Now, it's going to be overall pretty rare that you get the whole class together, sitting together at one time for any reason. It's rare that you give a full class lesson, and it's rare that the whole group needs to be together. So at most, I would say a community meeting would happen once a week. And it can be useful to have some structures in place for this. So if the class is going to have a culture of meeting on a semi-regular basis, then there should be a place where they can build an agenda for that meeting. So a notebook or something where the children can write down things they feel that the whole community needs to address. And so they'd write down what their issue is, and then they need to put their name next to it. We are not going to have a community meeting with anonymous complaints about the classroom. If you have something you need to bring to the whole class, then you need to own that and you need to bring it to the class. And I could take a look at this agenda before it happened to see those people who really like to air their personal grievances in a community meeting, and I could have a conversation with them ahead of time to make sure that this was something we needed to bring to the whole class. Now, these things can seem like pretty small issues. One that came on our community meeting agenda a lot was, people putting paper towels in the garbage instead of in the compost. And what are we going to do about this problem? But this does give children an ability to look at how they can solve these bigger systemic issues in their classroom, even if it is just where the paper towels go. So I had the children run this meeting as much as possible. At the beginning of the year, I would run it to model how a meeting could be run. And then the rest of the year, I allowed the children to take turns, and I would sit next to the leader just so I could help manage it if there was any need for that, or whisper ideas in that child's ear. It's important to learn how to manage a meeting. What do you do when someone really likes the sound of their own voice and talks all the time? What do you do when some members of the community never speak and you feel like you're not getting their input? How do you support that as a meeting leader? So there's some great skills that children can develop as they lead these meetings. And there's also skills that all the children can develop about listening and participating in a meeting like this. It's important to keep these brief. No reason for the children to be sitting together like this for anything more than half an hour at most. And so you have to help them manage the time efficiently as well. When children brought their issues to the whole class, I would usually ask, is this just a reminder for the whole group, or do we need to work at finding a solution? Sometimes we just need to acknowledge, yes, this is a problem. We're not composting the paper towels, and we really want to do that. And maybe this reminder will solve it. But if it's been a reminder for a while and we need to work toward a solution, then as the leader, or I would say, well, does anyone have a solution? And we usually did hand raising in a young classroom because it's so hard for them to, control themselves at times. But as they got older, I let them just sort of talk without hand raising. But in a younger classroom, when you say, is there a solution to this problem? Does someone have a solution? You're going to get a bunch of hands up. And often what you'll hear at the beginning is, I've been noticing that we haven't been composting the paper towels. Yes, that is the problem we have articulated. We're looking for solutions. So sometimes you need to, younger children really like to feel heard, that they've seen that too, but we have to then shift them into what a solution can be. The other thing that can emerge for children when they're thinking of solutions at times is that they become really extreme and punitive. I think the solution to this problem is that we should never be allowed to use paper towels again. We should just have to dry our hands on our pants. right? Like they're going to come up with something extreme. And there might be times when you allow the group to decide the extreme solution because it might be useful for them to experience that. Or you might, as a participant in the community, gently suggest some less punitive solutions to the problem. And you'll have to use your judgment for deciding when one option is better than the other. You'll want to be sure that you know the ground rules and expectations of the group and that you help the children maintain those. And again, the key to these meetings is keeping them brief and only when they're necessary. So if there's nothing on a community meeting agenda in a given week, there's no whole class issues that need to be discussed, then don't have the meeting. The other thing I had the children put on the community meeting agenda was if they wanted to present their work to each other. And so we would make time for 1 or 2 of those kinds of presentations a week if there was anyone who wanted to do that. So it's not always negative things that are addressed at a community meeting. And as we needed to plan for the camping trip or various classroom events, I would put that on the community meeting agenda with my name when I needed to bring something to the group to start the planning process. So all of this is just to help structure our community and have a space where we can work together on things that affect the whole class, but only, again, as needed and if it really is effective in your classroom culture.